Your grandfather's refrigerator ran for 30 years. The one in your kitchen will last 11. Same shape, same job, same logo on the door in some cases. But inside, one of them has a copper compressor that could outlive you. The other has aluminum windings glued to a plastic housing that's already counting down. This isn't a story about cheap parts, or corporate greed, or any of the explanations you've heard before. This is a story about math. Specifically, the math that says if your fridge stops dying on schedule, the economy that built it dies instead. Let me show you who's measuring the sand. Step back from the refrigerator for a second, because once you start looking, it's everywhere. Your phone slows down after 2 years. Your car needs a $3,000 repair at 100,000 miles. Your jeans wear through in 18 months. Your couch sags in 3 years. Your drill dies in 5. All of this is one phenomenon. It has a name and it has a birthday. December 23, 1924, Geneva, Switzerland. 8 men sit around a table. They run the biggest light bulb companies in the world. General Electric, Osram, Philips, a few others. They have a problem. Their light bulbs are too good. A standard bulb in 1924 lasts about 2,500 hours, which sounds great if you're the person buying the bulb. It sounds terrible if you're the person selling them. So they sign a contract. They call themselves the Phoebus Cartel, and the contract says, from now on, every bulb we make will last no more than 1,000 hours. Not 1,200, not 1,100, 1,000 exactly. They built a testing system. If your factory made a bulb that lasted too long, you got fined. The fine went up the longer your bulbs lasted. This was the first time in recorded history that companies sat down and formally agreed to make their product worse on purpose. That was the light bulb. But the idea didn't stay in the bulb. 1927, Detroit. A man named Alfred Sloan runs General Motors, and he's watching Ford eat his lunch. Ford makes the Model T. The Model T is reliable, cheap, and basically unchanged for 19 years. Henry Ford famously said, "You can have it in any color you want, as long as it's black." Sloan looks at this and has an idea. He can't out-engineer Ford. The cars are already good. So he decides to out-bore Ford. Every year, GM will release a new model. The engine? Same. The chassis? Same. But the chrome will be different. The fins will be different. The dashboard will have a different shape. The car doesn't get worse. The car you already own gets older. Psychologically. This is called planned psychological obsolescence, and from cars, it spread to fashion. From fashion to electronics. From electronics to everything. By the 1980s, every consumer category had its own version of the hourglass. Some of them visible, most of them not. But here's where it gets interesting. The modern version isn't just about looking old, it's about being locked. 3 locks. Watch them carefully. Lock 1. Glued batteries. Your phone, your laptop, your wireless headphones, the battery is the part most likely to fail. It used to pop out with a fingernail. Now it's bonded into the case with industrial adhesive. To replace it, you need a heat gun, suction cups, and a guide written by a hobbyist on the internet. Most people just buy a new phone. Lock 2. Software throttling. In 2017, Apple admitted it had been deliberately slowing down older iPhones. They said it was to protect the battery. The courts said it was something else. Apple paid nearly $700 million to settle the lawsuits. The phone you bought got slower because the company that sold it to you pushed a software update that made it slower. Lock 3. Proprietary parts. There's a chip in your refrigerator that controls the ice maker. It costs about $12 to manufacture. When it fails, and it will, the only place to buy a replacement is from the manufacturer. They will sell it to you for $400. Or they'll tell you the part is no longer available and suggest you buy a new fridge. They don't just build it to break, they build it so only they can fix it. And then, they don't. So, that's the system. Glue, software, proprietary parts. The hourglass modernized. Which brings us to the part nobody talks about. Because here's the thing. This isn't corporate greed. Or at least it isn't only corporate greed. It's math. Gross domestic product, GDP, the number every politician in every country watches every quarter, depends on consumption. People buying things, then buying them again. The entire post-1945 economy is built on something called the replacement cycle. You buy a fridge, it dies. You buy another one. The factory that builds it stays open. The workers in the factory keep their jobs. The shipping company that delivers it stays in business. The store that sells it pays its rent. Now, ask yourself a question. What happens if your fridge lasts 30 years? The factory makes 1/3 as many fridges. It lays off 2/3 of its workers. The shipping company contracts. The store closes. The stock market, which prices companies based on future sales, collapses. Your refrigerator dying in 11 years instead of 30 is not an engineering failure. It is an economic requirement. The hourglass isn't a defect. The hourglass is the engine. And once you see this, you start to see something else. You walk into a hardware store. You see 15 different brands of paint. Cheap brands, premium brands, eco brands, contractor brands. Different logos, different prices, different marketing. They mostly come from the same 3 factories. You walk into the power tool aisle. 6 competing brands. Most of them are made in the same industrial park in eastern China. Sometimes on the same assembly line, with the badge swapped at the end. The brand name is the lie. The hourglass inside is identical. Okay, so this is the system. Hourglass inside every product. GDP dependent on the sand running out. Brand names hiding the fact that the sand is the same sand. The question is whether anyone is fighting back. 5 weeks from now, on July 31st, 2026, the European Union starts enforcing something called the Right to Repair Directive. Under this law, manufacturers selling in the EU can no longer use software locks to block independent repairs. They can no longer use proprietary hardware design to prevent third-party fixes. They must offer repairs at a reasonable price after the warranty expires. It covers phones, tablets, washing machines, dishwashers, refrigerators, vacuums, displays. France went further. Planned obsolescence is a criminal offense there. Executives can go to prison for up to 2 years. Companies face fines of up to 5% of their annual revenue. In 2020, French regulators fined Apple 25 million euros for the iPhone throttling case. Italy fined them 10 million more. And in the United States, at the federal level, nothing. No law, no directive, no criminal penalty. A handful of states have passed limited bills. The FTC has the authority to act and has chosen not to. The hourglass, in the country with the largest consumer economy on Earth, is still invisible. So let's go back to your grandfather's refrigerator. It ran for 30 years because the economy that built it didn't need it to die. The factory had other customers. The country was rebuilding after a war. Growth came from making more things for more people, not from making the same people buy the same thing again. Your refrigerator lasts 11 years because the economy that built it does need it to die. The factory has nowhere new to grow. The country has reached saturation. Every house already has a fridge. The only way to keep the factory open is to make sure the fridge in every house breaks on schedule. Same logo on the door, different hourglass inside. And now you know who's measuring the sand. It's not the engineer, it's not the executive, it's the math. The math that says growth requires breakage. The math that's been running since 1924. The math that nobody put on the box. The hourglass isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed.